What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. And today I have Mr. Robert Frownsworth on tonight. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. So, how have you
Yeah,
been?
yeah.
It's been a little while since I've had you on.
Yeah, man. Well, sitting in my house for way too many hours in the day. But life's good. Life's real good, man. Things at Aspirus TV are just off the chain, man. We've been growing. It's busy, as you know, because we
Oh
just brought you
yes,
aboard to be a moderator.
sure did.
So that's exciting, to have you and Thomas in. Yeah, it's just neat to, I don't know, like, I talk reef all day long, and it's like I don't have any other focus but to talk about fish tanks. And like I get to talk about, I get to write. So it's kind of, it's kind of a dream there. Like I do everything I like. I like to write, I like talk about fish tanks. So life's good on that front, man. We got the corona. It's been tough, it's weird, really weird. Life's weird. It's been tough with my kids. Like that's been the thing. So they've got, I work from home and have been for a little while, so they're kind of used to that. But like, they would go to school, and so they were, living normal kid lives. And now it's been really hard on my toddler, 3-year-old, man. Like she is just going bonkers for like, no social interaction whatsoever. It's just been, you just tell it's getting tough on him, and it's like it seems to be stacking up like right now. I'm ready. All I do is fish and work, so.
Fish and play
I
fish
didn't
tanks.
really, yeah, I didn't really like change life for me, because I go into the woods and that's my fun time, and then other time I'm with my family. So didn't change much there, but yeah, just sort of the outside world's just different.
Mm-hmm.
But how are you?
Oh, that's fair.
Speaking of kids, what's up? Oh, are you okay? All right, well, I'll come help you. Can you go downstairs and watch your iPad? I'll be right there, okay? Oh, that's okay.
Perfect timing for speaking of kids.
Yeah, perfect timing, exactly. Sorry, everybody.
That's all good.
We're home alone tonight.
Yep.
So yeah, how about you, man? How about you? How are you?
I've been doing good. Life's been crazy. Working way too much as always, and doing all the Reef Dude stuff, and now joining up and helping out with BRS. So that's been
Yeah, man,
crazy.
that's exciting.
Yep.
Congrats on the sponsorship.
Thank you, thank you.
Super excited you have a board, man. That's awesome. Really awesome. It's cool.
Now we can geek out on many levels together on Reef Tank. So.
Yeah, yeah. What did I say? So you were taking our relationship to new levels. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah, we've always been reef buddies, but now it's like official. So
Yeah.
it's the next level. I'm excited for it, man. I really am.
We're taking our reefing relationship to the next level here, Robert.
I don't know if I'm ready for it, Devin.
Nope.
It's not you, it's me.
Gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah.
We're committed.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm gonna say, so it's pretty awesome. So pretty excited for that. It's awesome to get to work with you more because, we always just chat Reef, but now there's a whole new level of it. And
Yeah.
moderating the group, that's a bazillion questions to come by. Not that I'd have enough before, now there's a bazillion more.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, you have like, the Reef Dudes channel, and then yeah, the questions, man, the questions. I'm glad we picked this topic because it's fun, but like there's so much that we could talk about here. It's kind of wide open, and I hope everybody that's watching participates, joins in, asks us questions. That's always fun, answer live questions.
Yeah, no, as we're going along too, if you guys do have any questions, just be sure to ask them in the chat, and we will get to what we can for it.
Yeah. So I don't know, when we came up with this, I wanted to talk about sort of like how you approach, or how I approach the questions, how you approach them, kind of see like where your mindset's at when you get these questions. Because what's interesting about Ask BRS TV is you get every level of reefer, from the guy that like is thinking about buying a fish tank to, the guy that's got I think the 17,000 gallons is the one big tank that we got. And there's another guy, like it's funny, there's like this little war, like one guy's trying to ask the dude with the big tank questions, but he wants to beat him and like get a bigger tank. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting dynamic to watch go on. But yeah, you get reefers from all walks of life, and you get all kinds of questions. And it's neat to kind of like explore these things, because a lot of times it'll take you down, a research rabbit hole. Other times, you have to sort of dictate your answer to who you're talking to, and so that's kind of interesting. Trying to like feel like where people are at experience-wise, and then tailor your answer to that level of reefer. So
No.
I have a lot of fun doing it, researching things that maybe I haven't researched in a long time. Stuff I've learned a lot. I'm always learning, so that's cool. I'm lucky because I have Ryan and Randy and a kick-ass video team behind me, so we have all that content to share in the group, which kind of makes my life easy on some fronts.
Hmm.
But I try to not crutch on that as much. I try to, even though the video might say the same thing, we all want to have a consistent message, but I'll still try to give them, a personalized answer. And then, hey, check out this video. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. And here to help if you need more help.
Now, okay. Now here's a question for you on with your tank, or sorry, actually that's one of the questions. I'll get to that in a sec. But
Yeah, yeah.
now, because you're answering all these questions and likely doing a lot more research for it, have you
Mhm.
found it's made you kind of a more knowledgeable reefer from it, or
Totally,
yeah?
totally. I mean, yeah, it's like I'm sort of a lifelong learner. I love to learn, so that's a huge part of this. That's fun for me.
Hmm.
And yeah, like just coming to BRS, like people have different opinions and different point of views and different experiences, and so that's just been a huge sort of learning curve for me. The way that everybody sees reefing a little differently. Like you see it a little differently than I do, and so
Hmm.
it's kind of neat. And now I've got 25,000 different opinions to sort of filter through, and so it's definitely made me more knowledgeable. And the sky's the limit. It's cool. It'll never stop, which is the neat part.
Hmm. Well, now you get to geek out and obsess over it all day. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's great.
exactly. So actually, question in the chat. A couple of people were asking, what's the status on your tank, or how's that coming along?
My tank. Okay. Almost. So basically, the isolation kind of hit like right when I moved. So I moved into a new place. I've got a spot for it. I've actually put it together, but it's, the whole depressing glass box on a stand. So I've told myself, and my wife and I were talking last week, I was, sort of waiting to see how this whole thing panned out and, shipping stuff and just trying to, no fish store to go to. So all that I saw was like a huge hassle of trying to build a tank. Um, but I'm not going to wait, man. I think this is a part of our lives. Nothing's changing fast. Nothing like there is no normal again, and I've come to realize that. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm just going to do it, man. I built my shopping cart, so ready to get stuff from BRS into my doors and get working on it, man. I did some SketchUp. I wanted to share that in the group recently, but a little bit more work on it because I kind of have like two ideas. So
Okay.
original idea was big sump, multiple displays, but I would start with just the 50-gallon innovative INT tank, and then a big custom sump. And
Hmm.
then from there, I'd build a stand around it, obviously, and then sort of in time decide and just plumb in the different displays, right?
Yeah.
Well, now as I'm looking at this tank, I'm just like, man, would it just behoove me to set them up individually? Because I mean, having a nice sump sounds nice and all, but bigger equipment, it's more work.
Hmm.
It, it's just a whole nother ball game, I suppose. And then having them plumbed together, that could work against me in some instances. If I mess up and get something in the tank, that's kind of the worst of it all. But like, I just think about like just let's talk about like an SPS tank and a softy tank. Like, I don't really need to do as much to that softy tank. And is it better to keep a little bit more nutrient in that water? Can I pump in phytoplankton all day? Where if I'm trying to go sticks, like one dose of phytoplankton could piss everything off or whatever it might be. So I'm just I'm kind of on the fence of it right now. So I've sketched it out to be like the big sump and the display on top. And the plan there is Innovative Marine makes um, they're like aluminum profile stands. Gosh, I forget what they're called, but they're their
Hmm.
aluminum stands, which are really cool because it's like a Tinker Toy. So what I could do in that instance is I've talked to them and I'm just going to get some longer profiles and extend it out. So I'll just get extra parts and make that stand. I want to go 60 inches. So I'd have like a 60-inch stand.
Hmm.
The width is fine because that 50-gallon tank is pretty wide. I think it's 30 left to right and 24 front to back. So I've got the width that I want, and I can use that big wide stand, and I would have the space. So I think I'm gonna do that big stand regardless. And so it's just deciding on what I want to do with this sump. I just don't know where I'm at yet, man. I will decide, but maybe I'll leave it up to the group. Like I'm gonna share these SketchUps pretty soon here, and obviously there'll be tons of opinions and stuff. Then I'm
Hmm.
gonna work. I've got a water station to build, so that's gonna be sort of second step after nailing down the plans. And then I'm gonna work on some scapes, man. I like doing the scapes, so
Nice.
I think I'm gonna do something cool and get some like aragacrete and build it up, take my time with it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's been a long time since like I built my own tank, you know. It
Hmm.
wasn't like, had some sort of other purpose to it. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. Get to do what
Well,
I want.
now is definitely the time to do it since you
Yeah.
actually get your daughter in there. Get her to help you like rockscape and build stuff. It's like the kid
Yeah,
Lego.
yeah. They do, and that's gosh, it makes me a little nervous too. Having a toddler around is just they get into everything, man. So a little nervous about that, but I am excited to teach them about it. The older one's super interested in it. She loves the outdoors. We like to ID animals together, and I'm sort of teaching her about like, the Audubon field guides and stuff. So that's
Nice.
exciting. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. So new stuff's coming. Now is a great time to do it because you guys are cooped up anyways. Hopefully something will entertain your kids a bit.
Yeah. And we're going through summer too, so they'll be out
Hmm.
and classically out of school. Yeah, it's time. It's
You
time.
know.
I miss having a fish tank. That's for damn sure, man. I can't. Oh man, it's tough. Like that's the hardest thing. I
Hmm.
haven't. My hands have not touched salt water in way too long. So
Slacking, man, slacking. Um,
yeah,
so we've had a slew of questions coming through in the chat as well. So I'm
cool,
just
man.
kind of
Shoot.
starting to get a few of them kind of lined up.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
actually, one just came back. How's the Bergia project coming today? I got them today, so it's just starting. But
I'm excited for that.
I got a little 5 gallon tank with about 30 Bergias in it. About half of them are my buddies, but I got them all for now. So I'm hoping to actually get them to breed. So I threw in two kind of Zoophags. I had a couple on it in there for now to start them munching on it. And two of them were like right away. We're already like starting to munch down on it. So that's a good start.
You come up with a
Um,
plan to like.
Breed
You're
them.
gonna have to grow Aptasia.
I know. I started a 1 gallon jar today or last night, whenever I did.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Just a 1 gallon jar with an air bubbler, and I put in a bunch of frag plugs, and I took a couple Aptasian, like razored them off, and so basically
Okay, okay.
threw a handful of
Dude,
them in there. I'm
we
hoping
should
that
take
that will
like
work.
you should need to take like a not a time lapse, but like a picture a day type thing. I
That's a
want
good
to see
idea.
that. I want to think see that thing like come to life with Aptasia. It'll be like all alien looking. It'd be cool.
It'd be awesome. So hopefully, so I'm
Yeah.
hoping I might get some egg crate and just a bunch of random little things for it to attach to, and then I'll probably just start feeding like reef roids or some little particulate foods, and hopefully get them to explode in there. We'll see.
Yeah,
Working on it. I know
definitely.
some people when you attack them that they'll seem to spread, so that's why I like razor bladed them off and poked them and annoyed them, and hopefully they'll.
Yeah, like
So
everybody says they do. When you piss them off, they have that defensive breeding mechanism. So, I don't think it'll be difficult.
hopefully not. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
I have another buddy that a couple of them I tacked onto my order for him, so he said he's going to bring me some Aptasia too. So hopefully between the bunch,
Nice.
I'll get a bit of a food
Well,
source
you
to
gotta.
keep it
I mean,
going.
you got the community behind us. I think we could collect Aptasia if we wanted to.
Mm, probably, hopefully. The
Hopefully,
problem
yeah.
the problem is it's usually on people's aquascapes what they don't want to part with.
Well, that's the downside of an Aptasia.
Yep. All right. Okay, so one question that came up a couple times now. He says, "These dosium, calcium, elfin, mag. Should NO3 and PO4 be on a doser?" That really depends what your levels are. I've personally never dosed nitrate and phosphate directly. I'm a big fan of just feeding more rather than dosing it. But some scenarios, I mean, that doesn't always work. So you can dose it. It really kind of depends on how much and how often you're actually having to dose to maintain those levels above zero.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't know. It's almost scary to put it on a doser, like, cause I don't know how much you'd have to be dosing to like make it worth your time, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, I've never found a need to do that. It's only been like a sort of a okay, well, I'm at zero. I got to bring it up. Let's just squirt some in there for the next few days, get it to where it's reading, and then just feed like crazy. Like it's almost like a fix. Get it up in there, and then just keep pumping food in behind it.
Hmm.
Or liquid feeds, man. A lot of people, we don't talk about these liquid feeds, but like putting a food on a doser, like I don't give you your nitrate and phosphate, and it feeds the tank. So
Do you know
that
what,
would be my
actually?
approach.
I've been thinking about that for a while. Nios makes a mysis shrimp that doesn't need to be refrigerated with
Oh
whatever's in
yeah,
it.
the like sort of slimy one stuff. Oh, that stuff is
Yeah.
neat, really, but that'd be
I know I've been
crazy.
toying. If I can put that on a doser and just have it feed snacks, a couple times throughout the day, that'd be sweet.
Yeah,
So,
that would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know about like what kind of preservative and what they're using there. I mean, I've seen it. It looks like
hmm,
mysis shrimp, and I've used it. But I'm curious as to like, yeah, that'll probably give you some nitrate and phosphate. That's all I'm
probably,
saying.
probably, and it feeds your
Yeah,
fish. I don't know. I think it'd be
yeah,
cool to do. But the
Hmm.
only thing is, I don't know if we get funky in your dosing lines and stuff, but we'll see. Maybe an
Yeah,
experiment.
could probably get kind of yucky.
Yep. What should NO and PO be? Nitrates and phosphates. I personally like zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.9 for phosphate.
Nitrogen and
Nitrates,
phosphorus.
yeah, and nitrates usually between 10 and 20. That's kind of the range that I usually go for. Oh, we
Yeah,
get
I'm a
good target.
yeah, I'm a below 20. Okay, so I only get worried or like will freak out and do water change if it's above 20 on the nitrates, and then phosphate's kind of variable, but I try to keep it between the 1 and 2.1, 0.2.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh, Handfield frags. What's the best skimmer for the money for 1,000 liter aquarium? So that's about 200 and something gallons, which is close to my tank. I'm using the NAS 220. It works well. The best for the money is a very tricky question
Yeah.
because I have not tried all the skimmers, so it's hard to say.
Um, well, Reef Octopus is a good one. They got a lot of different levels, a lot of different price points, tons of
Mm-hmm.
models. They're reliable. So, uh, it's kind of sort of the go-to when somebody asks for like, what's the best skimmer for the money, or they give me a budget. That's kind of the one I'll go to most often.
With octopus.
And then in there, I'm a fan of the any of like the DC pump ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of depends your budget though. You've got about $100 gap, give or take, for to get that DC pump. So any of the DC pumps, that's the Regal lines. Otherwise, they just sort of the classic. I think they call it the classic INT. They've got a couple models of those that super
Mm-hmm.
affordable and they're solid, man. They use that Aquatrans pump, and so they're good.
Nice. All right. Paul's asking, having issues with low elk. Elk 7.4, calcium high 468, magnesium good 1410, pH always stable around 8.2. So all your parameters actually seem pretty solid. Elk's a little on the low
Yes.
side. I mean, I prefer 8 to 8.5 ish. Depending on how you're dosing, I would just dose a bit more, up your dosing a bit. But as long as
Yeah.
your magnesium's in a good level, you should be fine to dose a little more elk without issue.
And he said his magazine it's 14 or above
Yeah,
14 for the
1410,
mag.
which is good.
Yeah. 7.6 is really not terribly low, like not something that's gonna freak out.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're staying at that level, not going any lower. But
Yep.
8 to 9 is my sort of target range. I'm happy if it's 9 on the money.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The biggest thing is
Yeah.
stability. I've actually had in my Red
Sure.
Sea Nano that I used to have,
Hmm.
I neglected testing that tank for quite a while and eventually realized my elk was at like 6.8 or something like that. And it must have
Ooh,
been there for ages,
naughty boy.
but the tank looked wicked. The corals are happy,
Because it
everything's
wasn't,
growing, it's colorful.
yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't going up and down. Yeah.
So I mean, 7 is still fine as long as it's stable. It partially depends on what kind of corals you have. I know LPS they like above 8. They don't really like the super low stuff. But I had like rock flowers and acros and a torch and everything looked amazing. So again, stability is more important than chasing numbers, but I would try and get a little closer to 8 personally. Do-do-do.
Agreed.
Yep. Uh,
Agreed.
Agreed. Lucid Reef. What's your preferred brand of dose? I've stuck between Red Sea Foundations, Tropical Marin, Triton, and other methods. Um, they're all going to get your parameters done. I've tried many, and I still experiment all the time. It's hard to say. I don't know if I have a favorite or a go-to
Like a
yet.
favorite brand, or is he asking like a method, like balling method, 2-part calcium reactor? Or is he like asking for a brand?
He kind of blended the two, but I
Oh,
think it's more asking about brands. But
oh, brands. For 2-part, man, the BRS Bulk Farm is a solid one. It's super affordable. Classically, I'm an ESV Bionic guy. I've used a lot of different 2-parts. I've never had better results than I did with the ESV stuff.
mm-hmm.
You get the salt increase or the salinity increase over time. But counting for it with your water changes or just watching for it every week, it's pretty easy to maintain. Um, and then beyond that, calcium reactors. That's my solid one. Or calcium reactor, calquasser at night. Good to
Yep.
go.
Only at nighttime for Kalkwasser? Just pH strictly?
It depends on the tank. I've done it in the top off. I've done it on a separate doser. I found the most stable was just like a little bit of calquasser at night.
Okay. I've been
Yeah.
toying with the idea if it's worth trying to run a Kalkwasser reactor to boost up my pH a bit. Maybe
I
with a
want to do
calcium
one
reactor.
where we time the ATO and put it in the ATO and then like time it to only run at night. So
Or
we'll
just
see.
use a dosing pump and just say
Yeah,
you
okay,
need a
we
Versa
time it
then.
that
You
way.
can be like, oh, from 9 p.m. to 9
Oh,
a.m.
I'm so
dose at
excited.
like
So
1 mil a minute.
yeah, back to the tank. I mean, I got all this cool new stuff that I haven't like played with yet. It's been like a good year. So it's gonna be exciting, man. It's gonna be like Christmas for me. I get all these awesome, cool new things that I haven't got to play with yet. So I'm excited.
Mhm. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Do do do. Elias Gobi, should I take my GFO and carbon offline when using NoPox? So NoPox is carbon dosing. I don't believe that carbon affects it. Read the instructions, obviously.
Yeah, I don't.
GFO, I would probably take that offline because if you don't have phosphates, it's not going to lower your nitrates. In order for that carbon dosing to work, you need to have nitrates to lower, or sorry, phosphates to lower your nitrates. So if you're
Right.
using too much GFO, that could do it. If your GFO, your phosphates like insanely high, maybe you need both. But in general, I would probably stick to just one method.
I'm gonna use as only as needed when it comes to GFO and carbon. So carbon's like that. I don't have time for a water change this week. I'm gonna dump a bag of carbon in it and just then do it the following week. GFO is super scarce or like just super rare. If I'm dealing with some nasty algae or like I said, I just don't have time to sort of to fix the issue that I know is there. Like let's say grow a refugium or turf scrubber or something, some sort of permanent resolution of a filter roller.
Mm,
Then I'll use GFO to sort of bring it down. It's very situational for me though. I try not to set up a tank to where it like crutches on, especially GFO, all the time.
the
I try
media
to
that
get
you're
it to
relying on.
where it'll run super simple. Just the mechanical filtration, your skimmer, and then some sort of refugium or scrubber.
Mm, so that's fair. And the nice thing is, then you're not relying on media running out, right? It just works.
Yeah, the only reason is because I don't like changing the media and it's
That's fair.
obnoxious. It's messy and like you have
Lazy
to do
reefer.
it.
I
Well, I get
understand.
I get a guilt trip if I don't, right?
Yeah.
Like huge guilt trip if I don't. Like if I leave something dirty in the tank, it's massive guilt trip. It's like not changing a filter sock. Like I won't sleep at night if I don't do it because I feel like I'm like neglecting my fish, and I don't like neglecting fish. So that's the issue. And with the days that I would run reactors, I mean, they work very effective. Like get your phosphates down, water keeps clean.
Mm,
Or carbon, it'll keep it clear, nice and pretty. Um, but it was just the maintenance on them that sort of turned me off. I was like, there is a way to avoid these. And then in time, started relying on heavier, bigger refugiums, and scrubbers came around.
mm.
I've used nitrate filters before, so I've
I never
used the
used one of
sulfur
those.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used the sulfur one, but the one the one that like really was fun was like this like so it's a coil of airline tube inside a dark um like a dark container,
Yeah.
and it just really you create an anaerobic environment, and it's just like you drip water your tank water like super slow through this massive coil of airline, and it ends up denitrating. And that was easy because you're just pumping water through a coil.
Hmm. Was that a sulfur denitrator?
No, this was just like it was a homemade. You take a little reactor and then you just coil airline tubing it all the way up, and then you pump through it like super slow, and it eventually becomes anaerobic and will start denitrating.
Hmm.
I did it on a small tank. I didn't like a tiny tank. I had a nano tank, and it was just chock full of corals. I was feeding the crap out of it, and I was like, you know, I just wanted to experiment and play with it because this old fella told me how to make it, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Yep.
worked. I was doing like 50% water change a week on that tank. It was pretty tank. Man, I wish I had a picture. It was like 10 years ago.
You just need a big one right behind you in the office. Done.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. The tanks, there's no room in this office for that. So I got all
Mm-hmm.
my awesome artwork, which I'm excited about. Makes me feel happy. Did that a couple weeks ago. Finally got that up after the move. But the tank's gonna go in the basement, so
Nice.
it'll be close to the water. People will be able to see it. Yeah, and just won't be so tight because in here it's pretty tight. I got my bookshelf, my fishing stuff, all my artwork. So it's just
Yep.
kind of this is my zone, where I do my work and sort of zen out, and then down the fish tank, which I guess fish tank makes sense in that area too. So,
I don't
but
know. It should be somewhere you're actually gonna spend time and enjoy it. That's the biggest thing, right? Don't put
yeah,
it
that's
in
the
a
thing.
room you never go into. You're never gonna look at it because
Yeah.
then it gets neglected, right? And you don't enjoy it as much for all the
It's
effort you put into
more
it.
like for other people, I think. Like I won't socialize in this room. Like this is my room, and there's like no reason for anybody else to come in here. So
Mm-hmm.
basement, kids will be there. There's a fireplace down there. Company and guests can be down there, and it's not so awkward.
Mm-hmm. No, that'll be good.
My daughter is currently yelling at Alexa,
Is Lex listening?
trying to listen to what she's asking for. She's gonna
Uh,
buy stuff. All right, go ahead.
All these packages are
Moving
gonna be
on.
showing up the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
Anfield's frags, Reef dudes, what's best, GHL or Apex? I've never actually used GHL,
Oh, look
so
at
I
that
can't
question.
fully comment on that one. I played with it a bit at like Macna, the demo booths and stuff. Um, the the biggest comparison I'd say, if you're GHL's built very well, but the software isn't as intuitive if you're not technical. So if you're technical, then I think well, not a problem there. But if you've never used it before, I think Apex does a bit better job on just like the tasks and setting it up, making it a bit more intuitive. That's my kind of quick and dirty comparison of my experience with them so far. I have an Apex. GHL I've only played with a little bit, so I haven't used it super in depth yet.
I use them both.
Yeah.
And you pretty much hit it on the head, man. They both have the very, very similar, if not the same capabilities. They go about it a little bit different ways. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, User interface on an Apex, nobody's beat it yet. I mean, the Fusion's just, it's awesome. It's easy. The tasks are easy. It's very easy to understand. It's come a long way too. Like when I was first, introduced to this, like it was Aqua Controller 3. Like it was the original, I guess that's not the original, but it was the Aqua Controller. This was before Apex.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, it was not easy. I didn't get it for the first 3 or 4 years. And then, you come along and Fusion comes out, and then it's just become very, very simple and easy for any level of reef. You don't have to be an expert reefer to understand what you're doing and then how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
GHL is a little bit, it's more involved and takes more time. They're from whence the first time I used GHL to at the end, like released an app, and so the app is easy. Um, okay, well we'll talk to Alexa in just a minute. Okay, I'll be right there. Sorry, and yeah, it's just a little bit less intuitive interface, but the hardware is awesome, man, and like their dosing pump's killer. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. They've got the lighting. I've never used the lighting, but I've been excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it and put my hands on it, but I never got to use it on a tank, so that would be something I'd be interested to do one day.
Nice.
And then they've got the monitoring devices, so
Yep.
yeah, those are exciting too.
That's good. All right, next one. What do you find is the best product for cyano? Is it seasonal? I only have a little bit. Will it go away on its own, or shall I treat it? It can go away on its own. I've the the quickly get it gone approach is using something like ChemiClean. I have had like in my last tank, I had little bits that would come and go on and off, and cyano can be green or red. I know red's the most common one. For whatever reason, I used to get the green one randomly in my prior tank. This one I got little bits of red on my sandbed, and I haven't really done much with it yet. I'm kind of see if it'll go away on its own. And I'm gonna try some of that KZ stuff just because I've never tried it. I'm just curious to see how that works.
Yeah, I was curious about that one too. That one sounded really neat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that as a like preventative, and then working alongside that flatworm. What do they call it? Flatworm
Flower
stop.
stop. Yeah.
Stop. Yeah, flatworm stop. That's a really interesting concept to me too. Is like building the coral tissue to prevent. I like that idea. It's really cool. It's neat to me.
I'm actually trying some of that right now
Um,
too on my frag
yeah,
tank.
man, excited. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I
That's
put a
neat.
bottle on the doser a couple days ago.
Yeah, I look at the cyano question as like it depends on where you're at with it, man. Like if you've neglected your tank and it's blanketed, yeah, you're probably gonna want to use something because it's gonna be tough to get it out. But little bits here and there, if you're
Mm-hmm.
persistent and you siphon that stuff out, it you can generally kind of get it to go away on its own. I've never had to dose like an antibiotic or any chemical. Um, we're the bacteria additives. There's a lot of success around those things. So there is that, and like the KZ one, that one's exciting. So there's alternatives that were slowly becoming more popular now, which are super exciting, and I probably would start recommending that over like the chemicals. But people have had great success with ChemiClean.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a matter of repeat sort of dosing and doing it right. There's some specifics in there.
So with
Yeah,
ChemiClean, one thing I've found, I think it says to wait 48 hours before doing your water change. I wait
hmm
an extra day, and I find that's
Hmm.
worked a lot better. So I mean,
Interesting.
take that with a grain of salt, which you will. But I find
Yeah,
waiting an
yeah.
extra day for me, I've just had better results in my own experience. So
Interesting, interesting.
yep,
I wonder what happened. Well, like, what do you think's going on in that 48 hours?
more time for it to do its thing. Another
Yeah.
thing I do, I believe the instructions say to turn off your skimmer so it doesn't skim it out.
Right.
The thing that I do is I always take off my skimmer cup and I'll put like a bowl on top of it upside down. That way it can still overflow, so you're still getting all the benefit of that aeration in the tank.
Hmm.
Because the chemi cleans actually whatever is in there, the bacteria, whatever, is going to
Suck
suck out your
oxygen.
oxygen. So
Yeah.
you're going to see your pH plummet, and all the oxygen coming out. So it's still good to use your skimmer for aeration purposes, but you don't want it skimming out the chemi clean bacteria,
You want the
chemical,
yeah the
whatever the heck
still
it is.
chemical whatever it is in
Yeah.
into your tank. Yeah, you still need it in there to sort of do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's the way I just approach it with one, identify that it's cyano, and then two, just kind of examine where you're at. If you're covered in cyano from head to toe, man, start siphoning it out. You're gonna have to do that every other day for probably a few weeks.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
if just a little bit, I would say weekly water change, siphon it out, and just anytime you see it grow back. That's what I tell people. As soon as you see that stuff, man, just suck it
Mm-hmm.
out. You can do the whole like nylon bag over the end of a siphon tube, throw that down in your sump. You can recycle the water,
Yep.
siphon it out. If you do that, it'll only take you a couple days and it'll
Just
stop
get rid of
growing
it.
back. Yeah.
There you go. Even easier. Don't have to add anything. Elvino Fernandez Jr. How's it going? Excellent, thanks. I'm about to set up my T5s. I need to get 4 bulbs. What do you suggest? I plan on adding 2 XR15s down the road. Okay. Tank beside me has 3 XR15s and 4 bulbs on it, and I went with all blue plus with mine. Because my whites I can get from the LEDs, and then the T5s I just wanted for that extra kind of fill in the
Hmm.
gaps or that extra little kind of coral pop spectrum. So that's what I personally
Interesting.
went with. What about you? What would you do?
Yeah, I was gonna say, blue plus is like the bulb. And then I
Mm-hmm.
usually throw an actinic bulb in there. I just like the way it does. And I'm old school, actinic VHOs, man. Like, so it taught me how to reef. So, yeah, I like to, have an actinic in there. The Coral Plus bulb I've used too, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like a pinkish more,
Yep.
it kind of like brings out some red. So I've used that one before, but I would say blue plus and actinic or all blue plus, um,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll probably be happy. Any other combination, if you got two blue pluses in there, say you have four, you got two blue pluses in there, the other bulbs are just kind of, they're just looking at them as supplements. You're only going to change the way it looks a little bit, but it will sort of vary the way that the colors pop. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of, I would judge it like look at the spectrums, look what the colors in your tank, what you're trying to bring out, and then sort of gauge it.
Yep. Nope. That's awesome. Oh, this is an interesting one. This was one from Glenn. Question for both of you: what's it like working with BRS?
Awesome. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't look back.
Awesome.
I've been pretty happy. Ryan and the team, they're just awesome people, man. Like, guy's dedicated to success, which is awesome. He's got the BRS TV group and he loves it. I mean, it's in every, it's in that guy's blood, which is on the same way. Like, this is life for me. And so, we just sort of hit it off there. Randy's super cool. The crew there is great to work with. Adam, I think all you guys in Asperger's TV know Adam. I work with Adam all day, every day, and he's super awesome, super knowledgeable, which is great. And, like we talked about earlier, I'm still learning things all the time, like Randy and Ryan are going through this light test right now,
Mm-hmm.
and super interesting stuff that, like, I mean, you always knew it, but it's like, I shouldn't say you always knew it, but a lot of these concepts are, it's they're putting it in words or organizing it in a way that, well, shit, that makes sense. That
Mm-hmm.
was kind of a aha moment the other day on the phone with Randy and talking about like spectrum peaks and how it's okay. Well, blue, everybody, corals love
Mm-hmm.
blue, right? But the nuance there is you want a wide blue band, not just a peak band. And
Mm-hmm.
so where you get that full spec, or let's just say all the colors really pop, and you've got the nice color. It's a wide spectrum, and that's the difference between like just a single blue and a single white LED and your Radion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that Radion just really kicks ass in terms of coral colors versus just like a blue LED.
Mm-hmm.
It's that wide spectrum brand, and it's just just interesting stuff. And I never really thought about it that way. I've looked at spectral plots, and I've seen this. Like we talked about T5s bringing out different colors. Like it makes sense, but organizing it in a way where it's like shown on a spectral graph, and then um, connecting that to the way you tune your LED. It's just interesting stuff, and it's really cool to be a part of that sort of evolution,
Mm-hmm.
and just be on be on the team in the front lines with that stuff, man. I love it.
Yeah,
So
that's
how about
pretty
you, Devin? You're a
pretty
new guy.
awesome. I am a new
You're
guy.
the new guy now.
I'm like a
I'm not the
month
new
in.
guy.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm still the new one. No, it's pretty awesome. Everyone's absolutely great, and the biggest thing for me is like Brian and Randy and you guys, like everyone, like you guys care about it. Like it's in it to help people in the hobby. It's not about making sales or
Totally.
anything else. It's about helping people be successful reefers. And that
Yeah,
was like
man.
instant, like easy yes for me, right? Like talking to Ryan or on the phone, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to do it." And he's just like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to, support your channel and everything else." And he's like, "Yep, don't even care." I just says, "I want you to change nothing, no special anything for us." He's like, "I don't care if you use our products." He's like, "We just love what you're," and like right there, it's like right, change nothing about what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing. It's like you just want me to be a part of it and help you guys.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it was such an easy yes because it's just the direction of just helping reefers is amazing, which I love. So
Yeah, man.
it's
It's
pretty
just a
awesome.
really awesome feeling to be a part of it and to to know that that's the prerogative or the direction of this company and just a good feeling. It's a good feeling
No,
for sure.
yeah, it's all coming from the right place, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And like the more, like if we can take it back to be selfish for a minute, like the more successful reef tanks, the better it is for everybody. Like the bigger the hobby is. The more
Exactly.
success we see, like the less impact we have on the oceans, like
Hmm.
there's just all kinds of benefits to having to helping people be successful. It's not just a like you said a money game. It's just there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah, exactly. Hands down. So I don't know. To me, that's awesome. Everyone there is amazing to work with, and it's fun. Boomcar 911. What brand do you guys
Nice.
recommend for calcium reactor? I have an Aquamax S1, and I'm having a leak somewhere. So currently using a Vertex one, which is no longer an option because they're no longer. I do have a new Geo custom one coming soon.
You
Um,
lucky boy.
oh yeah, oh
I'm
yeah.
excited to see that, man.
Oh, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be good. Those are the only ones. Well, it's the only one I've actually used, so I can't fully comment. I had like a super old ghetto, don't even know what the brand name was back in the day that I put my own pump and plumbing and everything else on it. But yeah, most of them essentially do the same thing. It's a chamber with a pump, circulates water, you inject some CO2. Some are more efficient at it, some are bigger and better at bumping up the pH output. Some have quieter, more efficient pumps. But at the end of the day, most do a similar thing. So you got to look for like those little quality things, right? Or maybe it's just like better sealing, or it's easier to maintain it. Like it's all these little things where it kind of comes into play.
Look at reviews. I'm
Mm-hmm.
right there with you, Devin. I've used Aquamax. I've used Reef Octopus. I've
Mm-hmm.
used AquaSea, which is a I don't think they make theirs anymore, but that was an older like spray injection skimmer type company.
Mm-hmm.
But they made a solid calcium reactor. It was a box. It was a box with
Oh,
like
I've
the
seen
EHIM on it,
those.
and yeah, and it's got like the
Mm-hmm.
recirc on it. It just held a lot of media, which was cool,
Yeah.
and it was like easy to slide in place because it was square.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Coralin, which is a really good one that I've used before.
Mm-hmm.
Really curious about this Destaco one, Destaco, the new. It's
This
like uses a
semi-automated.
float switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited for that one. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard good things. Everybody that uses or has one seems to like it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm such a big fan of calcium reactors. I think that is in my future.
Nice. I kind of was talking to Kevin Gaines, who used to be Biota. Now he was working with them at Magna last year, and
Hmm
I was trying to figure out how the heck that was supposed to work. I'm like, how is this automated calcium reactor thing? So the quick
Just a
gist,
CO2 bubble. Well, go ahead.
this may not be perfect. This is what I vaguely recall, but it
Yeah, yeah,
uses kind of a harder, almost like a marble-based media, and it runs at a lower pH. And it's something about
yeah.
the gas buildup inside that changes the water level and triggers a float switch. And then it releases some, and then rebuilds up again, and some
hmm
kind of a cycle like that. Because I was trying to figure out how the heck that worked. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and max saturation. So the water
Mm-hmm.
can't take in more CO2, right? So where does the CO2 go? Well, it
Yep.
builds up,
Mm-hmm.
and then that bubble, it triggers the float. That turns it off.
Mm-hmm.
Water comes back up when it's the CO2 saturates, turns the CO2 back on. That's it, man. It
Yep.
seems pretty foolproof to me, unless you have like a CO2 leak or
Mm-hmm.
a leak on the thing, which okay. But yeah, it seems pretty foolproof. The one
Yep.
thing I would, and I mean they're dual chambered, so I think that's like an absolute must on these
Mm-hmm.
these type of reactors just because of pH.
It's super low.
Yeah, but I mean, you're only a few points lower than what? So I would run, just a typical one at 6.5 to 6.8,
Mm-hmm.
and I think these ones are down at like 6.1, 6.2, maybe even
Yeah,
6.0. I think.
somewhere around
No,
there.
wait. Yeah, no, I want to say I can't remember what saturation is. Is
Low.
it 6.3?
But well, it
Like,
depends on the media. Like I'm using Reborn
oh
right now,
no,
and
the
I run at
salt
six
water.
five. Oh,
Yeah, no, 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 like the max saturation of salt water. Anyway, it's
not a clue.
lower. Yeah, 6.1 to 6.2. Just lower, and yeah, you just want to be able to degas that pH before it goes back in your tank. I call it
Mhm.
degassing, in, getting rid of the CO2 so the pH increases before you drip it back in. So,
Yeah.
and also dripping it
Yes.
into a reactor, a
So,
like a, macroalgae reactor,
hmm.
like the Pax Bellum.
Yep.
That's supposed to be pretty effective.
I
Excited to try that. Haven't done that yet.
I'm currently dripping mine just in my refugium right now, which is good because that pH is good for
Yeah.
turtle growth. On the
Yeah.
flip side, I was talking to Chris Macy Aquaculture on a stream a few
Hmm.
weeks ago, and he was telling me to inject it into the skimmer so that the skimmer gasses
Yeah.
it off. So
Yeah.
I was trying that, but it kept like sucking the little hose inside. So I got to like 3D printer, make a little clip or something to hold it just in
Yeah.
front. So I got to
Oh
make
man, you know
rig
what?
up
I've
something.
got a project for you, Mr. 3D printer. I need a
Yes.
fishing jig made that does not exist, and we need to 3D print that so I can send it to actually Reef Racks. I was talking to him
Yep.
today about it, and he molds stuff. So I got
Mm.
him on the line to help me figure out how to do the mold, and you're gonna be my 3D printer guinea pig.
All right. We'll design something good.
Yeah, there you
Yep. All right.
go.
So Paul Delafnia, if using ESV, would you still dose trace elements? Nope. ESV has trace elements already in it, so you're probably good. There may be some things is missing, but I know it has a ton of stuff in it already.
Yeah,
I would say
you know, I would.
good.
I
Would or
used to
wouldn't
dose it. No, I would. I do dose trace elements, or I used to.
with ESV,
Along
Bionic?
with ESV, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have all of them, and I have tested thoroughly on that stuff, and you still get different. I haven't really done like a huge like ICP round of tests to see like exactly what falls and stuff, but I have noticed testing various trace elements throughout. But they've got a couple trace element additives that seem to work. They have like their transition elements, and then they've got another one, and I use both of those, and they seem to be super effective.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always use the Brightwell Replenish. Like I just always seem to want to dump that in the fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of secret sauce in trace elements that we just don't know about yet, or maybe just don't. I mean, I had literally potassium save my fish tank. I don't know how many times I've told the story, but it was all biopellets' fault. At least I blame it on biopellets. Yeah, I couldn't figure out what was going on. All the SPS were just slowly losing pulp extension, weren't growing. Then like the LPS started getting a little funky. I was like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Had some conversations with some guys like Reef Central guys, and one fella told me he's like, try potassium.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, try potassium. We put a banana in there, and then no, I do. So I bought some potassium. I put it in the fish tank, and literally the next day,
Mm-hmm.
everything turned around. And it was, the way he explained it to me, it was like you can't really control a lot of these bacteria. It's like there's different strains that grow. Like you can put bacteria in your tank,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like I don't know how many, but there's a lot of different strains that could possibly grow and do grow, and they do different things. It's kind of just like like Vibrant and the Microbacter, God, was it Microbacter Clean,
Yep.
Microbacter Start? Like they're different bacteria strains that target different things. They do different things, and so this one was feeding on potassium or consuming potassium, doing something to pull it out of my tank, and it was that crucial for everything in the fish tank. I mean, it could have been coincidental. I don't. I just swear that potassium saved that fish tank, and it did. From that day forward, I was able to rip the biopellets off within a month, and I just kept dosing potassium, and ever since then, I'm like Mr. Trace Element. Don't ever leave home without it, so to speak.
Okay, so no, on that note, I know like the ESV has trace elements in it. So is it just
Hmm.
not is missing some, I guess what you're saying, or there could be more
Yeah, I don't
potentially.
think it's complete. I mean, it could be all everything in because it does. Yeah, I'm thinking of the description right now, and it's like I'm pretty sure it says all major, minor, and trace elements in the exact ratio find in natural seawater.
Mm-hmm.
So what's my logic behind it? I just have always done it, and
That's
I've
fair.
tested using ESV,
Mm-hmm.
and things have been out of shape.
Okay.
So
Oh,
was
that's
that
fair.
because my salt mix is because something in the tank's using? I mean, it's kind of like um, what's
One
it,
of the
Monty's and Mag, right? They pull it. They different corals pull trace elements at different rates,
mm-hmm.
and so yes, keeping the levels always is natural, but is your ESV daily dosing enough to replenish like the rate at which trace element A is being pulled? And that's
Yeah.
probably where it comes from.
No, no, fair enough.
Yep.
All right. Gago's asking, what's his thoughts on the Reef bot for testing, and what's the best nitrate kit in his opinion? I'm
Wait,
assuming
which
that's
one?
for
What's
you.
what do
Uh,
you say?
thoughts on Reef bot and best nitrate kit.
Oh, Reefbot and best nitrate kit. Okay. Reefbot's super cool, man. I haven't used it, but I mean it's a robot for your fish tank. Like how can you be mad at that? And it does your really annoying titration tests for you. So
Yep.
that's awesome. You can use whatever test kit you want,
Mm-hmm.
even better. So you're not limited to like this one brand thing. Super expensive, not probably within the reach of 99% of people. 95, let's say, reefers are probably not going to have something like that on their fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of just like this really cool thing to have, if it's within your budget. And yeah, if I had one, I would probably play around with every single test kit. Like I wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
loyal to one. I would try every single nitrate kit and just be like, which one is the best? And
That's
like
fair.
see which one gives me consistent results across the board. And it would probably be erratic, and I never find any sort of any sort of congruency to it. But
So
um,
I've
yeah,
only tried
nitrate.
the Red Sea one on that one. That's what I'm using with my Reef bot. Just throwing that out there. If that's what you're asking for, which one to go with.
Oh, okay.
It's been working well.
Um, yeah, the nitrate ones. I want to say I used to use Nios kits a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and the Red Sea I would use for alk and calcium. And then Salifert, I always had a Salifert nitrate kit around, but I don't
Yeah.
really test nitrates all that much.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's a
That's
pain
the
in the
honest
butt to do
truth.
that test.
Yeah, I don't see a need for it. Like, I mean, I would do it, but I can kind of you stare at fish tanks long enough, and you test your tank, say 2 3 weeks in a row. You feed the same, you know what's going on. Unless you got some crazy like die off or something weird happen like past your cycle, you can kind of gauge and get a pulse for that. And I think that's what makes a good reefer sometimes is like getting a pulse in your tank and being able to look at it and be, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And then go down the road to find it. I think I told somebody the other day, like, good reefer doesn't use band-aid fixes, and we'll figure it out. And that's because I think we were having trouble. We were back and forth about something. He's trying to figure. It's like, don't like we'll figure it out, man. Like this is the game, and this is what makes this hobby so fun is figuring stuff out and doing the research, talking with other people, getting different opinions. Like that's what's so cool about this hobby.
It is, and it's like you're never gonna know it all. You're always learning. Like it doesn't matter how
No,
long you've been in this
yeah.
hobby. So it's the more you stare at your tank, the more you'll get a feel
And
for
if
it. And
somebody thinks they do know it all, you probably shouldn't listen to
true,
them.
good advice.
Yeah.
All right, Russell Chills. On algae scrubbers, do you remove all the algae at once? I ask because there's a spike in phosphate that the following days after removal of all the algae on the screen. I'm not 100%. You do want a little bit to seed it. I don't like scrub with a brush, but when I clean mine, I'll take like a credit card or something and just scrape it off. So you get like 95% of it off. But there's little bits on there that you want because then it's already seeded to kind of go for round two. But there probably will be, a little bit of a reduction for the first day or two until it kicks back in fully.
Well, he asked if you scrub all the
Algae off
algae
of the
off
turf
a
scrubber.
turf scrubber screen. Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's it's hard to get it all off as it is. So, but yeah, you just want to leave a little bit so it grows back quicker.
Sam Hyan, on the fence, a new tank, Red Sea or water box for a 2x2 cube. Any feedback appreciated. What do you think, Robert?
Oh gosh, Red Sea. I've used them. I trust them. The tanks are
Mm-hmm.
nice. The glass is nice. Water box. I've never had one, so it's hard for me to say. But don't get me wrong. I've seen them. I've met them. Their tanks do look nice. I only have experience with Red Sea, so it's only fair for me to recommend that.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I think you'll be happy either way. There's a lot of happy water box owners. So
I've owned both, and they're both nice tanks. Honestly,
yeah,
either way, you will be happy.
yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think from what I know, I would probably be happier with the water box sump system
Mm-hmm.
compared to the Red Sea one because the Red Sea is a little obnoxious.
Yep,
Um,
I would agree.
However, Red Sea pays attention to clean finish, man. Like that tank comes
Mm-hmm.
together, it looks nice, the edges are nice, the black paint or the black backgrounds there, the overflows
Mm-hmm.
seamless, quiet. They give you the plumbing that's nice and just fits together without having to use. You don't have to glue it or do any plumbing yourself. You just put it into
Mm-hmm.
place, cinch it down, and you're done. Uh, so yeah,
Two
I like that.
Yeah, that is nice.
Hmm.
But honestly, I think you're going to get that with either company. I do agree, water box sumps tend to be a little more spacious and easier to work with.
Hmm.
One thing I don't, I one thing that I noticed with the water box I thought was nice touches with the
Hmm.
overflow was all glass, even bevel to all the teeth, everything was completely glass, so really easy to clean and maintain instead of acrylic.
Ooh, that's nice.
That is one thing that stood out to me. And the other thing, when I was putting the stand together, I noticed the panels are all like proper plywood. It's not like pressed or particle board. It's like proper plywood. Like, so they're really solid. Those are two things
Yeah.
that kind of stood out, just like little things over top that you normally wouldn't notice when I was putting it together, which I thought was a
Is
nice
that
touch.
all glass overflow reinforced with acrylic?
No, it's all
It's
glass.
gotta
It's
be.
just
Oh
glass
shit! Wow,
and like water
awesome.
jetted or whatever they did cut
Yeah,
the teeth.
I'd have to check it out. That's neat.
But I was impressed with that part of it. Inventory King, do you have any experience with calc stirrers? Worth it? Best way not to overdose? Not to overdose, 100% use a good dosing pump with it, like a peristaltic pump, rather than an ATO. That way you're controlling exactly how much water goes through it, and you're not relying on water changes. Or maybe you sell a frag and you take out a big scoop, also it goes blah and doses a bunch your tank, right? You want a controlled way of dosing it.
Yep, I
Yep.
agree. The top off one is just kind of if you need a little bit, and I just wouldn't recommend it for anybody that's going down that route,
Mm-hmm.
or that is curious about Calcwaster's, never used it. I would try to steer them in the direction of using a stirrer and explaining because it's a very effective method, and it's inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's just a pH thing really, and if you've got a reliable dosing pump that's easy to program, like I love these programmable ones from your phone because it's just so awesome, and like
Easy.
calibrating them's easy. You click go, you time it, you got your beaker, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
I like that process. It's super easy than what it was before, and like scrolling through digital screens and yeah, just okay, how many days a week and how many times per day and how much per
Mm-hmm.
how much per dose. um it's nice to just go through the menu and do it that way.
Yep.
So I would definitely say, like you said, the dosing pump is probably the best way. And then, pH control, pH monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
pH is a unsung hero, man. pH should be monitored more, I think, closer than what we do.
Yeah.
It is. I guess it's sort of an unfair statement because there are a lot of people out there that watch their pH constantly. But I think pH is affected by so many factors, and so and it stays fairly stable in your tank until something goes wrong. And so any little change there can be a great indication of what's going on. And so you've got a backup, alert, alarm, control, whatever that tells you if pH is getting too high. It can automatically shut off the dosing pump, or you can get your butt to the fish tank and see what's going on.
Yep. There you
And
go.
don't let it siphon.
Yep. Yes, that's bad. Don't back siphon. I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
like peristaltic pumps because they pinch the line. You don't really have to worry
Mhm.
about it back siphoning.
Yep.
You can use check valves. Make sure all the stuff is pre-reactor because calc can be nasty on gears and trying to pump through it. So you want to pump your fresh water and let it overflow naturally.
And clean it out too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll be dumping a lot into the reactor, and so eventually you'll have sort of a bunch of precipitate in the bottom. And I get that question a lot is like, well, can I just add more water? It's like, that precipitate's not really kalkwasser. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's unusable byproduct. So you have to, you can put a bunch in, and only so much is going to saturate the water. And so as you add new water, like whatever was left over didn't saturate, sure, that will give you your maximum kalkwasser. But eventually, say 1 to 2 weeks, whatever. Some guys do it once a month, but all that stuff in the bottom is just gunk you don't want going in your tank. So
Mm-hmm.
when I do it weekly, just with my water change. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Pull it out, rinse it out, and
Mm-hmm.
rinsing it keeps pump and everything else from getting all nasty real quick on you. So
Yep.
just my approach there. Keep stuff clean.
Yep. That's everything in your tank. The more you clean it, the more it's gonna last long term, right? So maintain things. Fishy Reefer, what's the most automated method of getting rid of detritus in a 100-liter bare bottom tank with a top overflow? Most automated, hands down, filter roller. Because bare bottom, especially, that high flow is going to keep stuff kicked up. Get into there. I mean, if you got socks, your socks are going to catch it. Not really automated because you're going to have to clean them every couple days. Filter roller, just clean it every couple months. And then you're all good.
Yeah,
Yep.
filter roller, man. You can't beat that.
Oh,
Changes
I
it for you. It's constant. It's yeah,
can't go
kind of.
back.
Yeah, you
Now,
could put your pumps on a timer or something, dude, to make them go super crazy. But like you said, bare bottom, man, like he's probably running a ton of internal flow as it is. So
Yep.
Yeah, just keep the flow high, essentially, you know?
Exactly. Oh, speaking of filter rolls, okay. Pet small life. Reef to use. I can't fit the Clarity in my filter sock chamber of my trigger system sump. I was thinking about plumbing it off a manifold from my return pump and letting it sit in my refugium. That 100% works. A while back when I was visiting Ecotech Marine Jay on his
Hmm.
tank, he had his Clarity, same thing, running off a little S1 pump. So he had his in his sump running on its own little pump. Same thing, it still pulled tons and tons and tons of stuff out of the water. So 100% still works. Good solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Wab Nikki. What's yours and Robert's opinion on the G5 Blues? What do you think, Robert?
Well, I still haven't used one, but they're awesome. They're neat, man. You can't,
Yeah.
you know, Radon makes good light, or excuse me, Ecotech makes good lights.
Mm-hmm.
I've used every generation. This is the only one I have not used, and as soon as it came out too. So, um, yeah, I don't know yet. I am not about to say what light I'm going to use because I don't know. But you all will find out when it happens. So, yeah, at that point in time, I guess I'll be more educated. The features are great. You know, I think the color rendition's neat. I think how they have dedicated the color and not, you know, I don't want to say closed it off, but they've given you a directive where all channels at 100%, you're gonna have a successful spectrum. I love
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yep.
You know, you get the question of what my settings, and it's just huge right now because, you know, on BRS TV we're talking about it, and
Mm-hmm.
so, and that's the focus is, or well, the focus this last week was spectrum, and so, um, you know, maybe I'm just feeling it is a popular thing right now because of that, and I'm, you know, I'm talking about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, as long as LEDs have been out, let's say the first 2 years it was just like, oh my gosh, I can use an LED, the heat and the electricity, it's crazy, this is awesome. And then now we've got these tanks that have had LED for years, and we're seeing, you know, then it was, then oh man, you got to acclimate it because, you know, transitioning from a fluorescent or metal halide to LED, you know, it's going to burn everything, and it's true, you know, it's burning everything. Um, but I think a lot of this stuff is sourcing from poor spectrums. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
if we had, you know, if you'd matched the spectrum, your 14K or your 20K metal halide bulb was coming out, like you're not going to get the same spectrum. But if you get it close or you try to match that sort of ratio, I don't think acclimation would have been a big of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cool to see like this knowledge develop and reefers being at the forefront of the science of this stuff. It's pretty neat. So I like that. I appreciate that. That was always a big, I don't want to say problem, but it was a problem with, you know, users of the past is you never know what really, like, I mean, it's a huge thing on the forums. Like, what schedule are you using? What are you using? Hey, can I download your schedule? You know?
I get us that like every couple days.
Yeah, yeah. And so
Mm-hmm.
like, and there's some nuances to it. Like the up and down and up and down and up and down throughout the day. Who does that?
What is
It's
it?
the guy with a big fish tank in Europe.
Massive one Europe.
We should know this. I don't know why we don't know it.
I'm mind blanking. I can picture him.
Yeah, yeah.
Saxby,
Anyway,
David Saxby.
Saxby, there you go, Saxby, the
Yeah.
Saxby method.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the up and down with there. So there's
He has
different
the
nuances.
AIs
You
with
know,
his. Yeah.
how long is your ramp period? You know, for me, I do an hour in the morning, and then at night I do an hour and a half to 2 hours because
Mm-hmm.
it looks cool.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but spectrum is spectrum, man, and I don't think we should be playing around or toying with that too much beyond like the way Kessel does it. You know, beyond just a little more
Mm-hmm.
white or a little more blue. You go outside of that range, and you're completely natural. You know.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, the blues, like the AB plus, is like hands down the most popular spectrum out there. And the blue is if you run all channels 100%, you're running AB plus, right? So that's the whole reason they did the blue is because in the past there's people being like, oh, I run this AB plus, but I'm not getting the full whatever watts out of it. Okay, this fixture is 100% AB plus. So
Hmm.
that's kind of like the main kind of I guess selling point because that's what most people use, right? And then the people that want to tweak it more, then you got the pro. That's I get asked that constantly with pro or blue, so throwing that out there. Food for thought. But yeah, if you like that blue crazy color pop, buy the blues. If you like a bit wider tank, buy the pros. So you can tweak it more. Another thing to consider, because the pro has more colors into it, which is going to affect the colors that you see. So when you see something like you see a tree that's green, it's because it's reflecting green light back at you, right? So whatever color you're seeing is what's the corals reflecting at you. So having those extra color diodes and those extra colors is going to bring out or enhance different colors because it's giving those options to target what's reflecting back at you. So you can enhance different colors based that way. So I don't know. I have little bits of food for thought.
Shameless plug.
Yes.
Ryan talked about this last Friday. This
Mm-hmm.
is an amazing video about spectrum, and if you having a hard time understanding the spectrum concept, watch that video. He he basically outlines it like, okay, you add red, this is what happens when you add red. You add green, this is what happens when you add green. And so just
Mm-hmm.
seeing that over a real fish tank using Radion, I if you just take that 5-6 minutes, or no, I think it was a bit longer. I think it was like 14 minutes, but whatever. Take those few minutes, watch that, get through that section of it, and it'll be a light bulb moment, and you probably
Mm-hmm.
will never have to ask the question again
Yep.
because it becomes very obvious at that point. With the purpose of red and green and those supplemental colors,
Mm-hmm.
they're just there to render those colors or reflect off those corals back at you.
Yep. Rick B. Robert, I missed your videos, man. Start making some videos for BRS. The public demands
Oh,
it.
thanks, man. It makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
In time, dude. In time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I like to write a lot, and Ryan and Randy kick ass at what they do. But in time, I think it's one of those things where like I do have plans to make videos for social media. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. But it also feels good to take a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm.
There is that. There's definitely some aspects of that position that aren't always just fun.
Mm-hmm.
So in time. But thanks, man. I appreciate
Yep.
it.
Awesome. Okay. KW was asking, at what tank size should you start dosing, assuming a mixed reef? Nano seems to get by with just water change.
Dude, I'm one of those like change half the water in your nano tank and maybe a little bit of two part depending on what you put in there. But I swear, man, if you just change a lot of your water every 5 to 7 days, the
Mm-hmm.
nano just stays stable. Everything is happy. You don't run into all these problems. That's my experience. Okay, probably not everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
I used good salt water. Well, okay, so the first time it was natural seawater, so that
Mm-hmm.
was a little iffy, but that was the first time, and I was like, yeah, I'm onto something here. And then I was using just instant ocean, the reef crystals,
Yep.
and I just did like literally 50% every week. And this tank was like a little like 10-gallon cube. It was a metric tank, so it was a little different dimension, but it was essentially a cube, about 10 gallons, full of coral, like coral from the surface down the bottom. I was always cycling fish out of it because
Mm-hmm.
at the time I was working at a place where there was, they're selling fish, and
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes the holding bins would be full or whatever it might be. I just had a fish that needed a place to live for the time being, and so, I mean, there's a fuzzy dwarf lionfish in this tank at one point, eating live foods. Um, I had a leaf scorpion fish in there for a little bit. That was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so my point being is that tank went through a lot, stayed stable, and then I did dose ESV into that tank because
Mm-hmm.
it needed it. Once like I put SPS, that was my first SPS coral somewhere in that tank. Well, my first ones that lived and grew. Um, and that's where I learned about in that tank I learned about like consumption and the elements and keep them in ratio and how to supplement them. I learned about precipitation. Boy, did I learn about precipitation.
Mm-hmm.
You overdose it and stuff turns white real quick. Um, so yeah, just do
Nice.
if you try it. I'd love to have more people like give me the feedback on this and what happens to them in the situation they do it. But man, I swear, like if you do a huge water change in the tank every 7 days, small tank,
Yeah.
you'll have good success.
Okay. I will agree with that, but I'm going to give two answers. Okay. So, answer one, you're not going to know if you don't test. If you have more, like, if you do a water change every Sunday and you have more than a 1 DK swing between Sunday to Sunday, then I would say you should dose. Um, because, like half a DKH, 3/4, one, you're starting to get up there, but any more than one over a week, I think is start
Stress
dosing.
them out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like my 20-gallon Red Sea Nano I had going for a year or two there. That one I dosed, I think, 3 or 4 mils a day, and I did a 5 gallon, so 25% water change every week. Now, I know at Worldwide Corals, one of their little counter tanks, which is like 3 gallons or 5 gallons, that gets like 100% water change every week. So nothing's dosed, just drain it, refill it. And that one stays perfectly
Well, I
happy,
should
right?
talk to the Pico Reef guys and see what they're. I'm sure that's the approach they take.
Mhm.
Is just pulling all the water out. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have a jar reef or any of those little tiny ones, like 100%
Yeah.
water change, super duper easy, right? Make sure water's heated, good, do it all. But if you're still getting a big swing during that, then I would say you should dose. So it depends. Like if you got a bunch of encrusters, then it's different than a bunch of LPS and softies that are very slow ones, right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Thanks for
yeah.
all these questions, man. This is awesome. This is cool. We didn't even have to like bring our own content to the table, Devin.
Right?
This is
I
cool
love it.
stuff. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys supporting us and
We'll
asking
have
the
to do this
questions.
like
It's been fun.
once a month, just little Q&A streams.
I'm game.
All right, all right. Um, how? Okay, Sergia Schnob, how to introduce two central 5G living in the aquarium. I don't even know what that is. I have to Google this.
Centrifuge.
Yeah, what is it?
They're angels, dwarf angels.
Ah, yes, they are. Okay, there we go. Sorry. I'm
Two
terrible with the
living in the
scientific
aquarium.
names.
Well, just like any other two things, you do it at the same time or don't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Isolate them. It depends. They have different temperaments, and now we have captive bred ones. So
Mm-hmm.
like I know they've been around for a little bit, but like you're gonna see a milder temperament with that. They're used to living with a bunch of their own. They've been in aquariums, so I would say find captive bred ones
Mm-hmm.
and add them together and
And
observe
start
them
them
closely.
small.
Oh yeah, and then little when now you can get the little captive ones. They're boop, 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 little babies. I've had two
Yep.
now, and I just
Mm-hmm.
love it. I get so excited with that because it's like a cool fish, and it was captive bred. Just gets me all excited.
Beautiful.
Uh, yeah, and so I would say add them at the same time. If you do notice aggression between the one, which they can kind of nitpick at each other, but when they're little, it's like not too terrible. As they
Mm-hmm.
grow, and if it does get terrible, then I would say just isolate the one and maybe move rocks around or do something like that. But if you've got to take one out, so be it. At least got one cool one. But
Mm-hmm.
give it a try if you want. Two little guys.
Yep. All right, Johnny Martinez. Hey guys, how are you doing? Question: I have dinos. What's the best additive to kill it? Green hair, help. Okay, so this is a little bit of a multi-part one. There's already been 2 replies in the comments since then. Speedy commented, I killed dinos by dosing phosphate nitrate. And Wal- Waleed Reef, I killed dinos by stopping water changes. I dosed Dino X for 40 days treatment, also reduced GFO to balance phosphates and
You say
dose nitrates as
stopping
well.
water changes?
Yep.
Stopping.
Okay. So anecdotally, the theory is dinos is called by not having nutrients, so either zero nitrates or phosphates. I don't know if that's true or not, but that is the current reefer theory around that. So I know some people that say they just started feeding their tank really heavy, they just up all their nutrients and it went away. I had it in my tank a little while ago, and I dosed Dr. I did a full live stream on this actually if you want to get deep into it. But I dosed some of that Dr. Tim's waste away, and along with some carbon dosing, just to like boost up that bacteria and kind of get a big army going, and use that to kind of fight it. So there's definitely a few different ways of doing it, but it's generally due from a lack of nutrients. Is the anecdotal kind of theory around it.
Yep.
All right, what do you got?
Multi-prong attack.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally a thing. Um, it takes some persistence. So definitely do that. But blackout, UV sterilizers, both can be super, super effective. So take the light off the tank for whatever 3 or 4 days, and then use a UV sterilizer. That's only going to work, they say. Okay, so let's circle back here. Is identifying the
Mm-hmm.
species that you have, I think, is important. There's a lot of new stuff that's sort of coming out in terms of now we're calling dinos by their name, their species name, and now we're like, well, I beat it this way, and I beat it this way. So I would say do your research, see if you can, find some guys that can either, actually, there's some services I think that do it. I think what's his name is doing it. Um,
I'd be your
Gosh, of
danos right
course, every time
now.
I need it. He's in Pennsylvania, I think. Anyway, you can identify your dinos by looking at it in a microscope. Then once you know what you have, there's
Mm-hmm.
certain nuances to those dinos. So some are free floating, some are photosynthetic, and they go away at night. The free floating
Mm-hmm.
ones, you can get that with the UV sterilizer.
Mm-hmm.
Photosynthetic ones, it's light, so a blackout's going to be really, effective.
Yep.
So I think that's very, very important. But then if not everybody can do that, not everybody knows, so do it all. If you're
Mm-hmm.
really having a frustrating time, um, you know, blackouts, the bacterial army, and UV sterilizer, along with
Hit
keeping
it
your
all.
nitrate and phosphates. Yeah, he hit it all with that. I think you're going to be successful.
Hmm.
And I was telling Devin before we got on the call because we knew we were going to talk about dinos. Uh, I've never had a terrible like battle with them, to where I was like frustrated, pull my hair out like vermitid snails.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I've personally never had to battle them like that, or like I never had to use a UV sterilizer to get them out of my tank. I've done blackouts, but that was just sort of more experimental, not really for dinos. So I am going off of feedback from others and what I've seen in other tanks. And I've seen, I've instructed other people to do, and then coming back with reports. So that's where it's coming from. But I would just say, uh, multi-prong attack, man. If you follow that multi-prong attack, you're bound to get it with something. If you can't sort of like really focus on the one thing.
Hmm. Someone just mentioned in the chat about the Reef Builders article on beating dinos by raising temp to 83 gone in 2 days.
Yep.
I'm still on the fence on that one. I don't know how
Yeah.
much stress it would add on your acros. Like I keep my tank at 77 and a half, 78. Like bumping it up like 5 degrees. Like I don't know. I feel like that would stress out some of the corals, so it would probably
So
be one of
yeah, I
those.
mean, stability is everything. How far do you want to go with it, man? Like, do you want to,
Mm-hmm.
but the reefs, they get, in the 80s, and like corals can handle these temperatures. 81, I think 83 is the point where I would like put ice in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I keep my reef at 75 degrees. So, is that the reason that, never had to battle them? I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, man. I actually had a little conversation when the article came out, and it's completely anecdotal, like it's super cool, but that's what's awesome about reef builders, man.
Yeah.
They're there to share that cool stuff with us, and uh, usually the first ones to do it, so it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Perfect. Dramedy, can I use the PM3 for a temp probe and a breakout box? Yes, yes, you can. It has all the PM modules, I believe. You can use a breakout box or a temperature probe on, plus whatever they're designed for. So, we got option. Um, Pemetula Life. When establishing a new tank, 100-gallon mixed reef, when would you start using UV sterilizer? I would wait until the cycle's complete and then I'd turn it on personally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good approach.
yeah. You don't want to kill the good stuff as you're cycling. It might slow it down. I don't know. That's questionable. So,
Yeah, I mean, the whole, but then there's the argument like, well, the bacteria is not in the water, it's on the rocks and in the sand. But is
well,
it moving
it's
and spreading? Is your additive that you put in there that's spreading around, like, is that going through the sterilizer? I think it's inhibiting you for certain. So
mm-hmm,
you're just slowing down the process. You know, just to talk about freshwater tanks and ponds, like UV sterilizers are used in ponds, and generally you don't turn that on when you're setting the pond up. You turn that on,
mm-hmm,
post putting the fish in there, because now you're nutrients and now you're at risk of green water and other nasty moss and stuff. So that's when you turn it on. It probably has a similar concept in the tank, that you're just going to slow it down. So
yeah.
that's the way
Uh,
I would do it.
That's fair. The other big thing is too, leave your lights off when you're cycling your tank. You're just
Oh
asking for
yeah,
algae and trouble if you do, and then you
yeah.
won't need UV because there's nothing
I
for it to deal with.
had to talk about this with a fella in Astrios TV the other day, and he was super super cool because I complimented him on his organization. I was like, man, you are going to succeed at this, because he was cycling his tank. He had some beautiful graph of his waste his ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate, all done out in some like graphing software. And he's like, here's my plan. And so he had like this 1 through 6 steps of what he was going to do after he did his first water change, and that was the one, he had it perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
it was the lighting. And he was, going to add his cleanup crew, and I said, well, why are you turning on your light? And he's like, well, I want to grow some algae for the cleanup crew, and I was like, okay, I can
Fair.
see that, but at the same time, are you working against yourself? Do you need your high output lights? And then it got into the like, well, what about when I add my fish? I'm like, well, technically, you don't need the light then either. Like you just need sort of a day night thing going on. You don't want to freak them out. But what I would do is maybe turn it way down and then get them used to the on off in the
Mm-hmm.
cycle. And then when corals come in, it's just an easy transition. You don't have to worry about,
Bump up your percentage or.
jumpers or stressing them out. Yeah, or things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And, getting this crazy algae bloom because you've now you've got all this waste in the tank, had no light on it, and then boom, you shine it with light. Like,
Hmm.
that will instigate an algae bloom. So, acclimating up like that's probably not a bad idea, but certainly not during a cycle or in the following weeks when you don't have any coral or anything that needs it.
Yep, agreed. Hey, M. Ruskin, what do you think about pulling out the sand bed, cleaning it, and putting it back to kill dinos? I don't think I would go that far. I don't know. Like, pulling your sand does it mess with a lot of your tank. Your sand,
Yeah,
all
sand's
those
like
so much
you
bacteria on it,
first.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
like all those grains of sand are covered in bacteria. That is a ton of surface area.
yeah.
So
So
I think,
this,
yeah, I don't
go
think
ahead.
I'd do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so scary. I've never removed sand and tried to put it back. I have added sand to a tank, and I have taken
Mm-hmm.
sand out and replaced with new sand. And then I've like cleaned sand beds galore.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I know to be true, and having sand in your reef tank makes it more stable,
Mm-hmm.
and it processes waste better. It will cycle quicker, and when you start to screw with that, I mean, you're pulling out like so. Here, Devin, you do the math. How much surface area is on your sand bed? Like a ton.
Crazy mouse.
Yeah, and so you have to imagine, if you're pulling out that much bacteria and stability from your tank, like it's going to do something. So you're going to go through a cycle. You're going to have to hold your fish elsewhere. You're going to probably, you're definitely going to go through a cycle of some sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And so just not something I'd entertain the thought of. Or essentially break the tank
Yeah.
down. Just put your fish in another fish tank and break it down and start over if you really, I mean,
Hmm.
that's what you're doing, because
This
you're going to have to cycle again.
this is an interesting one actually. Saint Nova. Um, do you think I can avoid all the cycling stability delays of starting a bare bottom by putting sand in the fuge?
I don't know, man. You might be onto something. I
It will
mean,
help.
not a yeah, it'll definitely help. Not a not a but there's an argument to that too. Not a, like a deep sandbag type guy here. Definitely deep
Mm-hmm.
sandbeds can cause issues. There's still dudes that use them and love them and swear by them, and stability is great with them. But I
Mm-hmm.
just don't like having a big old nasty sand pit in my tank. Uh, and then the argument to that is like, are you still harboring the things that you don't want in your display? Is it just a looks thing that you don't have sand?
Mm-hmm.
What reason are you not putting sand in your display? Is it just because you don't want the power heads blowing it around? Is
Probably
it you
most
don't like the
people.
look? Yeah, and you don't want the look of it. You don't want all those things that grow and live in the sand in your tank, like you know, uh, coral pests. Do you think they breed in the sand? Your spaghetti worms and your other microorganisms that are in the sand. You know, now they're going to be in your tank if maybe that was the reason you didn't want them there. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd be curious to see how that works out, man. I haven't heard of anybody doing that, so give it a whirl and let us know how you do it.
So I'm a big fan of sand because I think it looks better. That being said, on my new tank, I may actually try bare bottom in the office one because it's more of a frag system.
Uh-oh.
But I have wrasses, so it still might get a little bit of sand in the corner. But I don't
It's
know.
going to the dark side. It's
Probably
going
not.
to
But
the
we'll
dark
see.
side. I'm pulling you back.
We'll see. But any display should have sand. Leaving that one out there.
Hey, I just like the way it looks. It's a reef, man.
It looks
But
good, right?
I've seen the thing about a bare bottom tanks is it's not that they don't look good. They take
Mm-hmm.
4 years to look good. So it just takes a long time for them to fill in and look natural because you see the bottom of the rocks and just, you always have like a little pile of detritus, what seems in the corner where there's a whirlpool of flow.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Just my experience.
Yep.
I don't think that there's a right or wrong way in that sense. I think that's just you know,
Mm-hmm.
go bare bottom or don't go bare bottom.
Okay. All right. Okay. Two more questions, and then I'm gonna let you go because I know your
Yeah,
daughter's
yeah,
probably
she's getting, actually, my daughter's
getting
getting
antsy.
closer. I hear the iPad getting louder. She's
Yep.
probably hungry.
Okay. I got two more keyed up. So, space. So Chris K. Space limitation: filter roller or small refugium?
Filter roller.
Yeah, I probably do filter roller too. Filter roller removes the food and the poop and whatever else before it breaks
Before it's
down.
phosphate nitrate, and it's super effective. Like it's
Yep.
out of the fish tank. So,
Like with my
a
tank.
refuge. Oh, you go,
Oh,
go,
I was
go,
gonna
go,
say
go.
guaranteed my higher nutrient issues that I was having for the last little bit due to the state of the world and me not testing and dealing with it. Hands down, because I haven't put the filter roll on my tank yet. If I had that on there, I doubt I would have had any of those little bits. So,
Yeah, man. Mechanical filtration is magical, man. You just got to
mm-hmm.
clean it and change it out, and don't. Once it becomes clogged, get it out of the tank. Don't leave it in the fish tank because now you're just doing the same thing as if you never took it out to begin with,
Yep.
and you're taking away from things to eat it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of them. They're not the cheapest, but they're so nice once you have it. Andrea Amida. Is there a way to induce rockflower anemones to reproduce? Any tips?
It's all
Um,
you, Devin.
First of all, you need to have both male and female. They do have a sex. I don't know any way
Hmm,
of seeing them sex
really?
aside from seeing them actually spawn and seeing
Huh.
which ones are doing what. Yep, there's males and females.
And they're not like hermaphroditic or like
Nope,
both sexes in one.
nope. You got males and females, so
That's
it's
awesome.
it's good to have a handful to make sure you have each. Like if I was trying to breed them, I want at least 6. I got like 20 because I was like hardcore trying to do it. Feed them lots, so feed them heavy. So I've fed everything from like reef roids to the like Canalus, Reef Nutrition's those little oyster egg things, and the oyster feast and the little oyster eggs, I think they're called, whatever they're called. Mix it up, tons and tons of food, good water quality, keep up on water changes. And it's also theorized to be partially from moon cycles, so make sure the moon
Yeah, man.
cycles are enabled on your lights if you have LEDs.
The moon cycles everything.
Yep.
Talk to a fisherman here, and the moon cycles.
It's true.
Fish are in tune with the moon cycles. I can tell you that for true. I don't know how and what, but they are in tune with the moon cycles.
So are coral. You can predict the
Totally,
coral spawn
totally, yeah.
within like a couple days based on the moon cycle. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
man. Oh, isn't that the coolest, man? Like
Mm-hmm.
from when I first started in this hobby, I think about this awesome and Jamie Craig's, and then the people in Florida. Oh, now I feel bad. Anyway,
The
breeding
coral spawners.
coral and yeah, the coral spawner, man, that just is cool stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
it's new, and it's like it's just awesome now that like we're seeing. I think Richard Ross has some. I saw a picture that he had posted the other day. Um, you see the process of like, from the egg and to settling and to like watch one little polyp like bloop bloop, and then it like pops up, and then
Mm-hmm.
now you've got this little coral polyp, and it's just so neat. Um, it gets me excited, man. It gets me excited to see
It's
this
cool.
stuff and this advancement, and knowing that my reef buddies are like instrumental in. And when I say my buddies, it's just the reefing community is instrumental
Mm-hmm.
in the advancement of this kind of science, and it's just cool. It's just really, really neat to be a part of it.
No, it is really awesome.
Yeah.
On that note, buddy, I'm gonna let you get back to your daughter because I've already stole you for
Yeah,
an hour and
man.
a half. But
Yeah, this is awesome. This is
it's a
fun.
good stream. We're gonna have to do this, every few weeks or something. I don't know. I like the
I'm
random
game for
QA
monthly.
ones.
I'm game for
Monthly.
monthly. Thank you everybody for joining in. Thanks for the compliments. Thanks for the
Mm,
questions. I had a good time. This was fun. Like
that's
I'm
good.
game to do Q&A every time. This was neat.
Yeah,
We
let's
don't have
do
to
it.
sit there and like sit on one topic. We can
Nope.
bounce around.
Whatever you want. Yeah, let's do monthly Q&As. I like it.
All
All
right.
right, guys. If you enjoyed it, as always, hit that like button if you're new. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next round of Q&A.
Later.